Hello, my internet friends. It's Thursday, which means we get together, as always, to talk about beating the market. And this week, we're going to talk about how to make $100 million underperforming the market. That's right. Underperforming. Not beating the market, but making 100 million. Well, what does that mean? Well, here are your three things. To be rich, we're going to learn that you don't have to necessarily be good at that job that you're actually doing. Then we're going to find out, well, what does beat the market? I don't care what doesn't beat the market. What does? And third, we're going to talk about, okay, well, what are those obstacles to really, really destroying the market in returns? And quickly, we're going to give, once again, we did it last week, the key to YouTube success. All right, you want to be a YouTube superstar? You want to have hundreds of thousands of subscribers and make a living? You have to put yourself first. You have to be the face of the franchise. And I have not spent the several $1,000s to build a studio yet. So I don't have the ability to be the face of the franchise yet. Again, it takes several thousand to build a proper studio. But what I do have is pictures of myself. And I thought last week I gave a shot of myself and it was an extraordinary success. I felt like people could connect with me. So I thought, once again, here's another still photo of me. Jill took this on a beach. I was in a body of water, just coming out of the beach. I was pretty serious that day, but I mean, life is serious. So, again, my shirt is off. I believe it was off last week too. Sorry about that. I just talked about why that Jill takes these photos. But yeah, there's a shot of me. Hopefully now you can put a face with the voice. Hopefully that connects us, and we become better communicators with each other. So there you go. Now moving on. I want to make this very clear. I love Jim Cramer. He is so much fun, and I have watched him for years, literally, back in before 2008. I remember when he said, "They know nothing," back in 2007 about the housing crisis. I remember all of that, and I've been watching on and off. But I'm a little confused, well, at least I find it confusing, about what is his goal. What's Cramer's goal? Well, he says on his show to find a bull market out there somewhere just for us. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean finding stocks that go up? I mean, I assume, right? Bull market means go up. Does it mean finding stock picks that will help us, the regular people, which is basically who the show is for? Does that mean his stock picks will help regular people like us make lots of money? Well, I hope so. Bull markets make lots of money. Does that mean he will give us advice on his show and in his Action Alerts Plus service, or whatever it's called, his stock picking service that you can pay for? Does that mean his picks will help us outperform the market? Does it? Because his hedge fund did. Do you know that Jim Cramer ran a hedge fund very successfully? He made over 20% per year for a long period of time. That kills the market. The market never makes 20% per year for an extended period of time. Never, ever. Cramer did that. So isn't that the basis of why we're listening? Isn't that why I was watching the show? Isn't that why you were watching the show? Well, here's a couple of quick facts. Jim Cramer is reportedly worth $100 million, ostensibly from all the success that his show has seen. His show is wildly successful. And here's another fact that you can look up on the internet, because look up the 100 million too. Jim Cramer's stock picks don't beat the market. It's true. He's worth 100 million finding a bull market just for us, but his stock picks don't beat the market. So why are we listening? Begs the question, right? Now, Cramer's picks do make money over time. They do. But they make less than just buying the market. In other words, just getting an index fund. And in the weekly newsletter yesterday, I gave you one that I like and that I track. It's easy. And by the way, there are many detailed academic studies out there documenting Cramer's stock picks from his show and his stock picking service. So I guess I'm confused again. What's the purpose of watching the show? Why is he a 100 millionaire? Well, Cramer himself says he never, ever has promised outperformance. He'll find a bull market just for us, but that bull market apparently won't outperform the market. And that his only job is to entertain us. So it's an entertainment show. So we don't care that his stock picks don't beat the market. It's just to entertain. Well, I guess it is entertaining, and I guess if we want to watch a show for an hour to be entertained, well, then I guess he's an unbelievable success. But if he claims his hedge fund success, which he does talk about his hedge fund, I've heard him talk about it, then it begs the question, why not just have his famous TV show beat the market? I mean, he knows how to beat the market. Why not have his picks beat the market? Frustrating, right? But if his picks don't beat the market, then where do us regular people go to beat the market if we're not interested in just entertainment or underperformance? Well, here's where we could go, perhaps. Individually researched systems. The problem with Cramer is that it's too big of a job. He's trying to do too much. His picks move the market. They do. He recommends something, people buy it. That's a problem. It moves the market, which means he either can't tell us right away or we have to wait 5 days to act on his pick. I mean, there's all sorts of caveats that come with his picks, which makes his job basically impossible. And he can't talk about small caps because they're too small. And his recommendation, again, would move the market. And those small caps are where the majority of money is made on big movers, right? Apple isn't going to make what it made in 2004, 2010 now, right? It's not. So small caps are where it's at, and his picks move the market. Basically, he can't really do his job. So I don't really blame him. It's just fascinating how you can make 100 million and not do a job that an index fund can do. It's just kind of interesting to me. But individual systems can beat the market. And let's talk about two of them today. Keep in mind that the market averages about 10% per year in the last decade. It's done worse in times and it's done better. I can't believe better at times. It's bested that mark and it's done worse. Now, to get that 10% a year, this is crucial in everything that we talk about forever. You have to accept a 50% drawdown or more. A 50% plus drawdown, which means if you want 10% a year with an index fund, you will have to deal with the fact that it will drop 50% or more at any given time. And if you leave during that drawdown, you could lose half your money or even worse, depending on your timing. You have to accept that drawdown and you have to stay in. Got it? Otherwise, you cannot make that 10%. Now, the weekly pivot robot from my 50% per year course on the euro dollar, I've been tracking this for years. The very first system I ever learned was a weekly pivot or a daily pivot system from Rob Booker in 2009. I've been looking at weekly pivots since 2009, and I built a robot a few years ago that does that. Just trades back to a weekly pivot. Weekly pivot is fair value. It waits for price to get away, and then I trade it back to the weekly pivot, right? It's all based on what I learned from Rob, and I added a few tweaks of my own. How has this weekly pivot robot done? Very simple system. Well, the research shows, the data shows it's made 26% per year in the exact same period that the market made 10%. And you would have had to stomach the same drawdown, about 50%, and then keep going. 26 is a lot more than 10. And it's a simple system in the Forex market, which means that Cramer cannot move the Forex market. You and I cannot move the Forex market. It's basically an unlimited supply of betting if you want it. And it's on the euro dollar, remember, spot Forex market. So the market can't be moved. Regular people can do it, and it made 26 as opposed to 10. And of course, Cramer's picks allegedly did worse than that. Now here's another one. I came out with another course recently last year on the pound dollar. Again, a Forex. Why Forex? Because you can never move the market. The pound dollar heron hypothetically made 50% per year. Again, if you accept the 50% drawdown. Now 50% max drawdown is not for everyone. You can do less. I'm just trying to keep apples to apples. If you trade an index fund, you're going to have to deal with 50% at some point. And if you trade these two systems I talked about, you will probably have to deal with 50% at some point. Now, you may not. You may not have to ever see that 50% again. But it happened in the market in the past decade, and it happened on these two systems. So deal with it, right? But if you can, Look at what you can do. Both of those systems have smashed the market to pieces. And those aren't the only two. Those are just two examples for today. Oh, that's great. What's the problem? Well, here's the problem. All those results are hypothetical. And you know what? The index fund is hypothetical too, right? Nobody's been trading an index fund for 10 years and then reporting. It's just market data. They're all hypothetical. Everything's hypothetical, right? But anyway, we don't know for sure if they will happen in the future. And I say we because I do trade the heron with my own money. Well, what could go wrong? I said the heron makes 50% or somewhere in between, right? Depending on the year you look at. It wasn't quite as good last year, especially in the last 6 months. It wasn't that good. So what, but it was overall. But what could go wrong? Well, if anybody quotes you facts and they don't have trading costs built in, then for sure you will never get those results ever. I'm just going to tell you something. It is an absolute joke if anyone shows you a system without trading costs. Trading costs are the absolute secret, key, important element, whatever you want to call it. Trading costs are everything to a trading system. You have no idea what you're going to do in the future if you don't know your trading costs. Oh, look, I made $100. Nope, trading costs were $75. You made $25. Oops, that's not going to work. So if anybody talks about trading costs built in, hey, we don't know slippage or we don't know, every trading cost is different. Heck with that. I want to say something profane. Heck with that. You can do trading costs. They can be researched and you put them in the numbers. I always do. So that 50% is trading costs built in. But if anyone quotes you something that doesn't have trading costs, I would never trade that in a million years. Okay. So that aside, which isn't what we're talking about here, because mine do build in trading costs, why wouldn't the robot perform the same going forward? If we are willing to accept a drawdown of 50% plus, why wouldn't we get that 50% per year average? Well, the first answer is it should, right? I mean, if you build the trading costs in, it should be close. But it is possible that the platform is not very good. Maybe you're using a very individualized, sketchy broker, and so your fills aren't done properly, right? It could happen. Or your platform is very responsive to spread. So you think you're going to get one trade and the spreads go crazy, all right? So if you have an unreliable data set or an unreliable platform, or if spreads are destroying every single trade that you take, then it will not perform in the future, right? For example, Strategy Tester on MT4 is not my favorite. I don't like those. I just don't like testing on it. I found it to be less reliable than the things I use. TradeStation number 1, multi-charts number 2. All right. If the testing is faulty, which I may take every precaution not to be, but if the testing is faulty, then the results won't match. So that's another obstacle. If you're doing some sketchy data on Strategy Tester, I mean, Strategy Tester sometimes has trades that don't exist in real life. Demo trading on MT4 is different than live trading. It's like two different platforms, which is crazy to me. But I found that to be true. All right. But if the testing is good and the platform doesn't match the trades, then again, the results won't match. So if I'm talking to you about 50%, but the platform is not taking any trades right, then you can't possibly expect that. Or, most relevantly, the human screws it up. You start taking trades out. You turn the robot off. Oh, there's a news event. I'm turning it off. Holidays are coming. Oh, I'm turning it off. Oh, I'm taking it out. Oh, I shouldn't have taken that trade. That will guarantee you don't get the results. And I am guilty of that. And it's the most embarrassing thing I think I can admit to you in regards to trading. Otherwise, there are some other things embarrassing, like I've watched Charmed before. Anybody else watch Charmed? My girlfriend and I think I've watched every episode of Charmed. I don't know why we watched that show. It's ridiculous. Anyway, but I have screwed up my robots, and I find that to be embarrassing. Do not screw it up. But here's the bottom line. There are things that regular people can do to beat the market. They're out there. You can find them. I've talked about two of them. Now, if entertainment is your number one goal, then you can buy Cramer and underperform the market, right? You can buy what he's selling and do it that way. Or you can buy an index fund and beat Cramer, but not beat the market. Or you can beat the market with some individual systems. But keep in mind, there are obstacles to getting the results that are quoted to you. However, great tracking can fix that problem. If you're skeptical of backtesting results, then put them side by side. Live results, testing results. How are they different? If the live results are better than your testing results, then guess what? You can trust your testing. Yay! So I can quote you numbers and you can believe them because the real life is better. You want to see an example of that? Well, here's a page from my website. It's under the performance tracking. Here are some recent trades. I'll be tracking this now forevermore. Here's a Hornet trade. We didn't talk about it, but there's a size. And look, live trade, I made $8. Again, this is a very small account. But the testing shows I said I should have made $5. I made 8 in real life. Testing said I only made 5. So if the testing says I average 40-50% per year, and my live results are better, see where I'm going with this? And here's the heron. We did talk about that. Again, a very small account. Live trade was $9. Testing said I should have made 2. That's great. Another recent trade. This is what I made live. Testing said I should make more. You have to watch this very, very closely. But obviously, overall, real results were better. So anything that we expect in the heron, we can probably expect with reasonable confidence, right? Anyway, the point of all of this is there are systems that beat the market, and even if the heron doesn't make 50% for whatever reason, and we're taking all sorts of pains to make sure it does, but if it doesn't, let's say it makes 36%, you're still killing the market, right? Isn't that great? So use reliable data, track it, and expect performance to beat the market. It can be done. You can find all the courses I talk about and all the robots I talk about at kajabinext.com. Just search Scott Welsh on kajabinext.com if you want that. YouTube is thriving. I think it's because I'm showing pictures of myself. I'm sure that's it. There's over 1040 now. All right, that's it, everybody. There's some contact information if you want it. I'll be back next week with a video. Can't wait. Talk to you then. Bye for now.